Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome to another film review. Today we're looking at a horror film called Ginger Snaps. Now this is from the Ginger Snaps trilogy box set, released by Second Sight. It's been out a number of years now, and I saw it years and years ago, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm glad to revisit this film. And it's sort of based upon this sort of suburban sort of area in America, and it's based on a sort of teenage sort of angst kind of drama, kind of horror film. And we sort of start the film with two girls, two sisters, and they both have this morbid sort of fascination with dying and death, and they sort of like take photographs of themselves in different ways of dying and stuff like that, like sort of gory ways or sort of like hanging or whatever it is. They just take photographs of like them dying in different ways, and Ginger, the older one, says to the other one that we made a pact that we will die together and all this sort of thing. There's like a real sort of almost emo kind of feel about the film, because they kind of act like you know, death is really like important, and they have a real fascination with it. Anyway, they've done all these photographs, and and it's for school for a school project, and they're watching like a slideshow of it, and afterwards they're all the other students start clapping, think it's great, and the student thinks it's disgusting and sick and wants to speak to them after class. And in the local sort of street where they live, there's like a young little boy playing in a sandpit, and his mother sees him playing. She's hanging out the washing, whatever, and she goes over to see him and says, "Well, you know, what you doing, what you building?" And she sees he's holding his hand, a dog paw. Nothing else, just a dog paw covered in blood. And then she picks the kid up and goes and has a look for their dog, and she sees that their dog's been all mangled and killed. And this has been going on in the street. People's pet dogs are being killed and sort of like torn apart and stuff like this. And so we don't know what it is at this stage. And then back at the school, the two girls are out on the field. Obviously, it's their sort of like physical education sort of lesson, and they're playing sort of hockey. And the two sisters are gossiping about one of the sort of cheerleader sort of, you know, girls there, and sort of slagging her off. And one of her cheerleader friends hears it and goes and tells her. And then she starts, when it's their turn to go on the field, she starts picking and bullying on the younger two of the sisters. And then Ginger goes up to her and says, "Don't you ever touch my sister again," sort of thing. And all this sort of thing goes on. And then afterwards, they're talking, the two sisters, and Ginger says, "I'll kill her if you want me to." It's a bit extreme. And she goes, "No, let's just torment her. Let's torture her." And they decide what they're going to do is kidnap her dog and put like sort of gory bits around to look like their dog's been killed by whatever this is that's killing dogs in the neighborhood. And it's all sort of based upon the girls before they've started having their sort of like, you know, their female growing up sort of life changes that the women go through, and it's set around the time when they're just sort of like coming on to that, because Ginger's getting back pain and all these sort of pains, and then she starts bleeding into the film and stuff like that. And we meet her mother, who seems very sweet, who does love her girls very much, but they seem to torment her because these are two sort of like rebellion sort of emo kind of girls. And you know, they don't and parents suck sort of thing, if you know what I mean. Everything sucks to them. Anyway, and one of the jocks has taken a fancy to Ginger, and he keeps asking her out and stuff, and she's not really showing any interest. Anyway, the night they decide to go out to kidnap that girl's dog, they're cutting through the park and they find like the remains of another dog that's in the park. And so because it was quite gory, they decided they changed their mind. And just as they're leaving the park, Ginger gets attacked by this creature, and she gets dragged away. And the younger one goes sort of like looking for her, chasing through the woods, looking for her, absolutely terrified because she doesn't know where she's gone. And these sisters are so bonded that it's difficult to tear them apart, really. So she's searching through these woods, screaming, looking for Ginger. She's absolutely petrified. And then we see Ginger again in the woods, running towards her sister, but the creature stops her again. And starts attacking her and scratches her and bites her. And then the two girls manage to escape the creature in the end, and they sort of run away and go across this road, and the creature's chasing them, but he gets knocked over by a van. And the van is driven by one of the local sort of outsider drug dealers that we've sort of seen earlier in the film. And so it's been killed. And so the two sisters go back home, and obviously the young one's extremely stressed out about Ginger, what's happened to her, because she's got all these big scratches and wounds on her. So they go into the bedroom, and she starts washing Ginger's wounds and stuff like this, and she wants to call 911. Ginger says, no, don't, I've stopped bleeding now. And the wounds are starting to heal. Already they're starting to heal. So what's happening? What is she being bitten by? Is it a werewolf? You need to find it. You need to watch it and find out, because that's all I'm going to tell you. I love Ginger Snaps. I really do. I loved it back in the day when I first saw it, and I still love it today. It hasn't aged at all. It's still brilliant. It's a very, very cool story. Where you get other sort of werewolf films that are very sort of glamorized. This is very sort of gritty and sort of brought to almost like a serial killer film like Scream. It's brought to that sort of level of sort of reality, which I think brings a great dimension to this sort of type of monster film, which you don't very get in these sort of creature films. It's sort of normally very fantasized, and this one isn't. I said because the creature's basically killing dogs, but then, is Ginger affected by it? Is she going to turn into one? And that's where the film goes, and it's led on to a couple of sequels, which I haven't watched yet. I've only seen the original. The pluses of this edition by Second Sight is that it's really, really cool. It's kept its natural grain, so it still looks of its age, which I really, really like. I'm glad that they've not polished it up, because this is quite a gritty film. I don't want it to look polished and stuff, because that takes away that sort of atmosphere and sort of like eeriness of the film. It is a very dark and morbid sort of story, and the two girls, you sort of feel sorry for them, but then you don't, because they're very anti everything, and you put yourself in that position, don't you? But I can see where they're coming from, and they're both lovely. They're both very pretty girls, especially Ginger. She's extremely pretty, and they go through a lot of changes. It sort of touches on the growing of age of girls when they sort of hit their sort of mature womanhood, I suppose, and their sort of anxieties, what they're going through, and the mother dealing with that, and sort of like trying to be there for them, but trying to also respect their space as individuals. It deals with a lot of deep sort of like issues, not just the sort of creature side of thing, which is really, really cool. And it does delve into sort of like relationships in the sort of like the high school kind of situation. which is really, really cool, where you got two outsiders, and all of a sudden they start to become sort of popular, and so it's like that kind of thing. Really, really cool. So I'm going to score Ginger Snaps an excellent watch and give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's a fair score. It is really a 9 out of 10 sort of film, but I'm giving it 8 just because I don't know. No, let's give it a 9 out of 10 because it is that good. It's got everything. It's got a great storyline. It's got great characters. It's believable because it's gritty. And they brought it down to not being so sort of a sort of glamorous creature flick. It's a very gritty, sort of downtrodden story sort of flick, and it's like a real sort of outsiders kind of film. Really, really enjoyed it. Ginger Snaps, 9 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below what you think of it. I mean, I saw it years ago, and I really, really enjoyed it then. But I think because these films, there were so many of them coming out in that sort of period. Probably, I don't know when this came out. It could have been the late 90s or something like that, even early 2000s. But there were two of a penny sort of horror films coming out. I'm sure this was in the 90s. And it sort of got lost amongst so many other films that I was loving at the time. But seeing it a few years on now, I appreciate it more now. I think it's really, really cool, and I really like the story, and it's really great. There is some quite heavy gore in the film, and some sort of visualizations of mutilated dogs and stuff like that, which can be a bit, unsettling to some people. But you got to remember, these ain't real dogs, okay? These are just, it's all makeup and stuff like that. So, but apart from that, that's the only thing that I could think people might be put off by the film. But it's a great story, really, really cool. Check it out if you can. Really good. Guys, till my next review, please check out some horror channels for me. Check out Horror Hands, The Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Designs, Pizzlewell. I'm the Ice Lord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House. Till next time, massive shout out to my lad. Look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.